To me, one of the best things at Outback Steakhouse has always been the signature dark brown honey wheat bread served with honey butter. This Copycat recipe is egg and dairy free with a soft, sweet texture and easy to make at home. To make this honey wheat bread, you will start with 1 cup of warm water, 1 packet of dry yeast, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1/4 cup of honey, 1/4 cup of molasses, 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. And for your dry ingredients, you'll need 2 cups of white flour, 1 cup of whole wheat flour, 1/4 cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, and you'll need some oats for a garnish and some cornmeal for baking. As always, when working with yeast bread, you want to proof your yeast. So I've taken our cup of warm water and now I'm just sprinkling our packet of yeast over the top, and we'll put this aside for about 5 minutes. Into a large bowl, add your brown sugar, your honey, your molasses, and your oil, and mix it well. Our yeast is proofed nicely, so now I'm just adding the yeast and the water into the bowl. I'm going to mix this well. And my next addition will be our cocoa powder, which is a strange ingredient, but it is the ingredient that gives it that deep, dark, rich color, and 1 cup of whole wheat flour. And bring this all together, and then this needs to sit for 5 minutes before we continue. So our mixture has rested for 5 minutes, and now I'm adding in probably 2 or 3 additions the white flour, stirring it in until it forms a nice soft dough. And I've added our final addition of the flour, and now I'm just bringing this all together until it forms a ball. Once your dough is nicely together, your hand is your best tool just to bring it into a nice ball. This will be a slightly sticky dough, and now it's time to put it out on a lightly floured breadboard and knead for 5 minutes. I'm kneading our bread, and this will take about 5 minutes until it forms a nice smooth ball. And now it needs to go into a greased bowl, turning once. And now I'll cover it with plastic wrap, and this needs to rise for 1 hour or until double in size. Our bread is doubled in size, and now I'm going to punch it down and just turn it out on a breadboard. Onto a lightly floured breadboard, and using my pastry scraper, I'm going to cut this into 2 halves, which I'll shape into loaves and then put on a parchment-lined baking sheet. Sprinkle some cornmeal on your parchment paper, and then just transfer your loaves onto the parchment. Drizzle a little olive oil over the top of the loaves, and now sprinkle some oat flakes over the top. And put this aside, and these loaves need to rise for about another 45 minutes to an hour. Then into a preheated 350-degree oven to bake for 25 to 30 minutes. Serve fresh from the oven on a wooden board with whipped honey butter. This delicious bread freezes and reheats well. It is also great toasted. This recipe is sure to become a family favorite.